Hey everybody, Wendy Clinky from Blue Cat Studio. Welcome to Lunch and Paint. And today we're actually going to try painting a Starbucks cup with some stuff in it. So I just wanted to kind of hold this up so you could see what my reference was going to be. I'm going to place it over here on a white sheet of paper. And every so often I'm going to have to kind of get down, low and kind of look at it. But the idea is that we're going to kind of work on how to get that kind of shiny surface. Now, this is not a disposable cup, but my brain has disposable cup in mind. So let's do a quick sketch. So we know we'll kind of have like a flat-ish top here. And again, this is kind of we're not going for a full composition here. We're just trying to get kind of a design in place. So, and this is our Thursday lunch and paint. My schedule shifted a little bit this quarter for school. So that's enabled me to come on a little bit later and have a little bit more time in between classes to plan. So just kind of getting a quick shape in place. So that's a basic cup, nothing terribly interesting. I'm not even going to focus too much on it being perfect. Now we know it's a Starbucks cup, so I kind of put a circle here, and we know she's kind of got this head and then this weird hair and some curves. Again, we're going to kind of be sketchy here today, and we'll focus on details later. She's got a crown and a star, and all right, there's your Starbucks logo, right? Again, we're going for simple here. And then we also know that cups generally have kind of a something along here, and then maybe a something along here. Now, if I turn this slightly to the side, I might even have, like some lines or some, like the little check boxes for the writing. I don't know. Again, we're just trying to get a basic sketch in place. Now, as a reminder, I absolutely love it when you guys chat and say hello when you come on. It lets me know you're there. And plus, it's really, really fun to just kind of chit chat with you. Okay, now I just started to just, out of the blue draw a straw, but what I realized is that was going to have the straw ending here. So let's take a minute to be realistic. I'm just going to grab a thing and say, okay, so if the straw is generally canted against the edge, then that's probably the max angle that I can get for the straw if I have my center line here. So I'm just going to there we go. It just kind of helps me place it more realistically. It's nothing worse than like sketching something and then realizing that visually it just doesn't line up. All right. And we probably wouldn't be able to see much into the straw since we can barely see the top of that guy. Maybe a little bit. Okay. So that kind of the brain says, yeah. Anyway, I think that kind of covers it. So we've got a sketch, right? Starbucks. Yeah. Hey, Allison. I know. And plus, it's my favorite. It's just the Tazo tea. I was really feeling inspired by the dragon fruit tea, and I'm kind of tempted to still do the dragon fruit tea, which means we'd have to go even more purple. It's like my favorite magenta. So this is dry paint right here. I'm just reusing because, why not? So grabbing some Bahama blue because I got it in bulk. I'm thinking some fluorescent colors here. And you know what I'm also thinking? I'm really thinking we're just going to be kind of non-standard, and we're just going to play. We're not going to focus on color so much as, getting the ideas down. So the critical colors I'm going for right here are, fluorescent red, fluorescent violet, purple, white, Bahama blue. And if you want to know where to get a great fluorescent purple, this is the Blick acrylic. It's the student economy stuff. It's not that expensive. Maybe $8 for a tub like this is 16 ounces, I think. I don't know. Either way, I don't get paid to tell you about that. I just really like it. Because they have some amazing colors. Now it's fairly see-through, so you really have to kind of add a lot of white to it. Oh, Allison, she says she loves my bright colors. Thank you. I do too, which is kind of why we do them. So just for fun, let's go ahead and get a basic background in place. Yeah, you know what I really want to do? I want to mix. I want a little bit of this, and I want a little bit of the purple. And I just want us to kind of see what happens. So I took the Bahama blue and the fluorescent purple, and I made a mushy color. And we're just going to kind of roughly surround this guy. We'll figure out context later. This is more about just kind of getting Mr. Starbucks cup here sketched in place and paint sketched versus it being a full, like I said, like a full composition. So we could even frame this smaller out. In fact, I should just do myself a favor and put down some paint so I don't feel like, or some tape so I don't feel like I have to fill the entire thing, right? This is just straight up tape I got from Home Depot. All right, yeah, there we go. I think that's a better idea, right? Keep it small. If I go big, then I'm going to be tempted to fill the entire space. So I'm gonna tape it off and reframe. So we're doing this in my sketchbook because again, I want you to, sometimes just take time to practice and play and don't stress about perfection. Sometimes just learning to execute basics like this is a really fundamental skill. And sort of the more comfortable you are, just sort of whipping out whatever, the easier it is to whip out the thing that you want to whip out. So that's why sometimes, practicing, like on a thing like a Starbucks cup can help you kind of get a better understanding of perspective, get a better sense of understanding of how the light will play on a surface like one of these plastic disposable or not disposable as the case may be cups. And then how to kind of bring in some color. All right, so we always know we're gonna, I don't have any green. Bull. Well, we'll mix some green in a minute when we get a chance, or I'll go find some, we'll figure it out. So again, we're just quickly filling in the background. And for fun, I am painting fast, right? We're not gonna focus too much on total accuracy. So, we sketched it with some pencil just to kind of get the basic shape. And even if you do this and your Starbucks cup is all wonky, you can still practice with a wonky cup. It's so easy to become a perfectionist in the art world, and perfectionism tends to be that thing that slows us down or stops us, and it gets in our way, right? It becomes more harmful. And so often I find I had this idea in my brain the other day, and I was really worried about how it was going to come out. In fact, it was the stag sketch. I don't know if I have it around here somewhere with all the hearts hanging off it. I literally just did it. And I was super excited about this idea, but I was also really intimidated because I didn't feel like I got my stag right. And my brain was like, well, you know what? You can sit here and stress about that the entire time, or you can just paint a crappy stag and see what happens, right? I mean, does that sound bad? And it turned out really cute. And I got a lot of really positive feedback. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. So from here, I'm just going to kind of duck my head down and take a quick look. Now we know that we've got some liquid in here. So but we also know that the liquid doesn't go all the way to the top. Here, let me make a sip just to make sure. Okay. Now the liquid doesn't go to the top. So we're going to need to bring in a little bit of background color. So I'm going to, pretend we've got a little edge here and kind of leave some of that. And just kind of sketch in a little bit of that kind of mixed blue. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Hey, Linda, how's it going? Good to see you. So again, Bahama blue and fluorescent purple. Why? Because these are the colors that were on my desk. So these are the colors we're using. We'll find a few other colors if we really need them. We'll figure out a green. All right, we're just going to bring little bits of that in here. And I think I'm going to get just a little, I'm going to tone the base. And so what we're thinking about is where are we going to actually be seeing some of this color coming through? And because we're kind of looking down just a little bit on the base of it, and I'm looking through less red tea, if I'm going from here to the center, it's going to be a little bit darker. So we got that. All right. Oh man, I got my coffee right here. I'm totally it's going to be a minute and I'm going to be tossing my paintbrush into my coffee. I just feel it coming. Oh. The other thing I'm going to do today, just for fun, is I have this canvas. It was at one time snowman selfies, but I have 4 or 5 of these. And this one I did in a paint party and I did a really bad job because, I was too busy chatting with the kids to actually do a good painting. So I'm going to do a lot of my offloading right here on this black canvas. Why? Because I think it's going to create a really cool background color. So we're going to do that. So go ahead and I'm going to rinse the brush. All right. Now we need to come up with a tea color. I want mine to be a little less red and a little bit more like the dragon fruit tea, which Starbucks has, because I absolutely love that. So I'm just going to take my fluorescent purple and my fluorescent red, mix them together, and it makes a gorgeous magenta. So there you go. I guess I could also grab my quinacridone magenta, which would also be beautiful and nice and fun. Let's see here. And I'm just going to kind of squat down here and take a look. And so we've decided that our water kind of mostly comes to here. So we'll kind of fill in. Now, the seal, of course, is totally opaque, right? So we got to preserve the seal exactly so. Everything else gets a little color. And yep, I'm seeing something I need to fix already. This is very see-through. So I'm going to add a touch of white to it just to kind of amp it a little bit. Or not amp it, but make it so that it's a little bit thicker, a little bit better coverage there. So the only unfortunate problem when you add white is that it does tone the color down a little bit. But, you know, those of you who paint with me, you kind of see I often will do that as a base coat and then add more on top. And it just kind of gives us what we want. Again, just kind of filling out the cup, making it that pinky purple dragon fruit drink. And I've got a little bit of white around the edges, no big deal. Again, it starts off kind of rough and funky looking, and then as we sort of put the stuff in place, and the layers, it starts to make a lot more sense. Okay, now I'm going to take the same color. In fact, I'm going to grab some of the more translucent stuff, and I'm going to kind of draw a line right across the top here. You see that? Because this is where the blue is showing through, but it's not just a flat line. There's going to be a little surface that's going to be reflecting some of that color. So just kind of create that there. I really need a better coating in here. This is funky doodles. Yeah, the fluorescent colors have really crap coverage. I'm just going to say that. But man, the colors are so amazing. So we do the best we can with what we got. And it's bumpy, wonky. I don't care. We're just sketching, right? Now we could go very cartoonish here, and we could literally just kind of add some white highlights and a couple of lines down it and call it good. But I think that we're going to actually play a little bit and try to add a smidge more detail than that. But again, we still have to sort of block it out. So now that that's dry, I'm going to tone it a little bit and just get it. Again, we're going for dragon fruit. Oh man, I love these colors. They make me so happy. There we go. Have any of you tried that dragon fruit tea yet from Starbucks? Like, I bought it the other day and my daughter got some other tea and she totally hated the tea she got. And then she like stole my dragon fruit tea. So I had like 6 sips and then I was done. But it was worth it because you know what? She's my person. And you know, that's what moms do. Okay. Yep. So I maybe got a little bit too much color on that right there in the top. And so what I see as I kind of like squat down and look is that the surface is it's really pretty much just a mix between the background color and the color of the tea. Okay. So I'm going to offload that, of course, on my black canvas here. And the reason I'm offloading on a canvas today instead of my sketchbook is I actually saw somebody on Instagram do that and realized that was how she set up all her future canvases for designs. And I was like, well, I love to paint over, you know, offloading and mess like this. So let's try. I got nothing to lose. It's a mess of a canvas anyway. Allison says, I tend to drink their hot teas, but you might try the dragon fruit iced. I mean, granted, we went there and it was like summertime and it was hot and she just finished like a soccer game. So the ice drinks was perfect. For wintertime, yeah, I'm kind of like, let's go with the hot stuff. That's a little bit better. All right, so just giving this a quick dry so that we can, you know, plow through this part. All right. I think I want a little shocker mermaid teal, right? As I say shocker, because, you know, again, I feel like I'm always breaking out the mermaid teal. Can't help myself. Okay, so getting down here, this is a fairly clear plastic. So I'm going to grab some white, and I just have the mermaid teal in case I need it. I don't actually know for sure, but I want the ability to go darker than this blue. I'm going to kind of mix a blue tone, but you know, it's going to be very, very desaturated by the white. So this is a total saturation, and then oh, Cassie, yeah, I'm very late today. We had the schedule change today for school. Yeah, so I apologize. Yeah, so we had a meeting directly after that ran late. Um, oops, okay, I got too much on my brush. So we're gonna take that color there. We're gonna just kind of fill in kind of roughly, right? We want a kind of a base like, hey, what does our plastic look like? And then we'll do some tweaking. And we'll kind of come down the sides here. Now, what you're going to find especially with like a plastic cup or even a glass that's clear, is right along the edges, there's a sort of a thickness of the material itself. Ooh, chai tea latte. Yes, please. I love the chai tea lattes. And when I was like a rabid coffee drinker, I'm not so much anymore. Just because I was trying to cut milk out, and I don't like coffee with anything but milk. Like, I don't like any of the plant-based milks with my coffee. And I was like, well, fine, I'll just give up coffee. But yeah, I always loved like a good dirty chai. And I'm not a teetotaler. I swear I do still drink coffee. It's just more like a treat now instead of an addiction, which is kind of nice. All right, so just kind of getting like some base kind of outline here. And again, you're always going to find that right around the edges, it's a little bit lighter because you're able to see through the glass or the plastic or whatever. Yeah, chai tea latte. Okay, so then we also have maybe a base. Oof. Got little flyaway bits in here. I'm just going to kind of come in and thicken a little bit through here. And then we know we had that line in there, so we'll kind of get that line sketched very, very lightly. And then we had a line, here, I think. Now, sometimes getting like the curvature right I sometimes find that to be the hardest part. And that's kind of like a lesson in perspective and being able to project it down, deeper to flatter. And I feel like I got it wrong there, but I'm not going to stress. We're just going to go with it. And I'm going to do just a tiny little notch on either side here. And what that does is it kind of shows, it's like the return of the notch, right? Because again, this section here is very, very see-through. And so you might actually see that line kind of curve around just right at the edges. Now these ones, of course, these are funny because they're double done. So there's actually like this whole insulating layer. I'm going to try to ignore that because I feel like that adds a lot of extra complication that we don't necessarily want to mess with. Okay. So now we have some base tone in here. Now let's see. My highlights where are my highlights anyway? It's hard to tell. It's kind of like reflecting back my painting and it's confusing me. But I'm going to say that we've got some highlight kind of right in here. It kind of curves around. And a little bit of highlight that kind of goes right here. Now notice I'm almost dry brushing this. So I have paint on, but the bristles themselves are they're getting kind of dry. So we're going to kind of just work with that because it allows me to lay on, gentle layers of paint versus glop it on. And in a way, it kind of sketches where the stuff is. So we'll get a little highlight here. And I want to say this actually kind of carries on all the way through here. And I'm not 100% sure what the source of all that is. Let's see. Linda says, I like the idea of offloading onto the canvas. My palettes are always amazing too. Oh my gosh. Like I once took a photo of like all of my palettes of like all the paint left over, and it was like 6 of them. It was like the most pretty rainbow. I was like, I love it. The other day I was trying to like create a marketing piece, and I like had all my paintings like side by side, and it was like the biggest cacophonous mess I'd ever seen. I was like, I love all these paintings, but they look a little bit crazy all together. Okay, right. So focus, Wendy. Let's get back on track here. All right, so let's get some highlights right in. Okay, so because these are actually slightly different, I didn't really get that as well, but they're slightly different widths. It kind of pops out a little bit. I'm just going to add a little emphasis there so that it makes sense when I start to add a little bit of kind of highlighting down along each of these ledges. It's almost like this little bit here is kind of that ledge for like when you stick it in your car cup holder or something. I'm not 100% sure. That, or it tells the Starbucks guys, how much of whatever to put into where. Like, here's your ice line, and here's that line and the other thing. And Okay, so back to why I'm doing the dry brushing is I want to be able to see some of the colors underneath. See, so Cassie says, I can't handle caffeine. Use Ticino herbal coffees now. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm these days, like I discovered cacao, and I've been drinking that. And oh my gosh, it's like such a rich, delicious experience. And of course, I'm adding like cardamom pods and fennel seeds and star anise. And I know I'm kind of like one of those weird woo health nuts. Okay, so I just grabbed some Bahama blue, and I'm just adding a little bit of kind of deeper blue around the rim there. I think I'm going to add a little bit of the lighter that Bahama blue directly under the rim, not the rim, the those little ledges things, just to kind of emphasize them, because I feel like my first sketch is a little bit messy. So we want to add a touch of emphasis in a few spots. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Let's see, what other spices do I don't know. I'm like always like messing with spices. I love spices. Oops, I rotated my Starbucks logo. Oh, hey, you know what we didn't do? We didn't bring the straw down. We got to bring the straw. Well, not that it's going to be white or anything, but all right, we'll mess with the straw in a second. That's going to be a whole other animal. I have so many weird colors reflecting back here. So I guess we'll just do some of that. We'll add a little bit of kind of the white here, a little bit extra of that here, or blue. I don't know, whatever color I've got on here. And I've got a funky bluish tone going on here. So I'm just going to kind of grab something in between with my white blue and my tea color. Just kind of add a little bit of a highlight here. Okay, so if you're ever setting up like a still life, like one of the number one things you can do to not want to scream is actually make it so that it's on a big white background so that you have nothing. So I have all these different blues plus my painting reflecting back into the face of this thing. I'm like, what is going on? I think I want to edit that part out. I mean, it's a little bit weird. So just something to think about. So I'm going to add a little bit of that purpley mixed color here kind of to the surface. And so I kind of drew part of that straw coming in, and it doesn't go all the way to the end here. It kind of stops halfway in the middle. You can still see it, but we just want to catch a little bit of reflection. And I've got the bluey tones because this is reflecting there. And then let's see, what else? Yeah, I had a little bit of that here. So it's kind of coming along. So we don't have any dark tones in here, which is where I think this guy right here, the mermaid tail, will come in. So offloading again. And Wendy, are you a graphic artist or what? This is amazing. No, I'm just a regular girl who likes to paint, and sometimes sit down and take the time to figure out how to do this stuff. But thank you. And so, but you know what it is? It's learning how to look at what you see, not what you think you see. So often we see a cup, and but when you pause and sort of like zoom out your brain a little bit, you see so much more. But it's a difficult practice. And I started, like, every day I'd be driving into the metro, or not driving, I'd be riding the metro into DC, and we'd be crossing the Potomac, and I would look at the Potomac and be like, okay, so our brains tell us the water's blue, but what colors do I actually see? And I was like, I see a lot of gray, I see brown, I see not quite black, but I'm not seeing blue. And so trying to start looking at the world that way, it's weird. All right, so I just mixed some green because, mermaid tail and yellow always makes a beautiful green. That's kind of Starbucks green, right? A little bit brighter. Let's see. So Allison says, I made a crock pot of spiced apple cider last weekend, and your kids freaked out over added cinnamon, nutmeg. Oh my God, kids are so weird. But yes, I'm in the DC area, Allison. I live in Northern Virginia, a little bit closer to like Quantico Marine Corps Base. All right, so this green was a little too ampy excited, so I added some fluorescent purple to it. Not that you have to add fluorescent purple, but I needed something that would like tune it down a little bit, because purple is sort of opposite-ish of turquoise and yellow. It's gonna muddy the water, which is what we're doing. Let's see. So, okay, so now I have someone who came on and says, Facebook user, are you still going? So you may need to click on the link that that says, grant StreamYard permission to see your name, or the way they phrase it is like it freaks you out, um, but it's really harmless. Oh, you went to DC last summer with the kids and loved it. Yeah, DC is so cool. Like I really enjoyed going into town. I don't do it as much anymore now. I work a lot closer to home when I have to go in. I don't really like to go in. I really like teleworking. Well, honestly, my real goal in life is to figure out how to go full time with Blue Cat Studio so that we can just paint all the time and like do even more projects. So I'm starting to bring the green down. I would erase you again. Well, hi, Holly. So I'm not so much still going. I finally got going, Halls. I'm like really late. Okay. So now this guy here, I'm going to take the green. And while I don't have the best coating, we kind of got the idea, right? And again, this is very flat. We'll add some dimension to it in a spell. I'm going to take that green right here and I'm going to add some of this magenta to it, because what happens to green like this when it gets into dragon fruit tea? Well, the magenta changes its flavor or its color. So now we're going to have like a muddy, darker, mushy color. I know, isn't that crazy, Holly, the way it like always erases you? Like it's very, very frustrating. Okay. So I'm going to do just a little bit here, and I'm going to kind of just bring this straw kind of down this way. And we're just kind of hinting at it, right? Hinting. Now, because this is a bright reflection, we're not going to be able to see it. I need to hint a little bit more loudly right in there. It's not working. Come on. Come on, paint. It's just lifting right off. The other layer might be slick. So I'm going to give it a quick blast. And then we'll come back to it. Allison, remind me, where do you live again? Was DC a road trip or like full on jump on an airplane kind of thing? All right, so now that that's dry, I can come in and add a little bit more of this color. I also could probably work with a smaller brush. I'm just not feeling smaller brush right now, because again, we're trying to just kind of play with the idea here. I'm going to add a little bit of that darker color to this green up here just to give it a little bit more darkness. Oh, that's right, you're in Texas. Offloading. Oh man, we've got some ugly colors and some weird looks offloading on this black canvas. But you know what? If I end up not liking it, or I have like all this extra paint that I squeezed onto my palette, if I don't use it, I will just slap it all onto the canvas, and that'll give me some better backgrounds for the next painting. So Holly says, know how it's going well. I'm 30. You're 30 or thirsty? Because I know you're not 30, honey. All right. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of this kind of mushy color that we mixed earlier, which is really kind of the blue, purple, magenta, white, and just kind of go a little bit over this purple line here. We want to be able to see it some, but we don't want it to own it. Okay. So now offload, 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 grab some more of this kind of blue-white mix that we've got. Now notice I'm trying not to rinse too often. Sometimes I will. I try not to too much. We're going to bring a little highlight kind of up right along here, because that's what I'm seeing is a little highlight right. And it's kind of coming down a little bit here too, where it's reflecting some of the color of the Starbucks thing. Okay, so you know what else I'm seeing, and I really missed on earlier, is this lid is not just a straight. I'm not going to get all the the lumps and details in it, but it is really not just a straight blue color. It has picked up a ton of the dragon fruity color from inside. So I'm going to just literally take my blue white color, grab a little bit more of that purple in there. Just kind of mix into the magenta tone. And we're going to add a little bit right in here, kind of to just a little reflection. fact, that's even purpler than that. So let's see, I'll add some more of this here. Maybe grab a little mermaid tail to darken it up. And again, you could probably come by most of these colors in a whole range of ways. And I know my color palette's a little odd. I'm just kind of going with what was on my desk. And, you know, why not, right? It's kind of fun to just play. So adding a little bit of that purple in there. And then we got a little along the ledges here. Yeah, I'm kind of really pushing the limits with this sucker. All right. And then we'll mix a darker tone. Mermaid tail and fluorescent purple. Get a nice deep purple. And I think that'll be good enough for shadows, right? We're just going to kind of BS our way through that. Thirsty. There you go. Oh, see. So Allison says, we made a road trip with COVID, but my daughter did a camp there. Road trip is a good idea. That's kind of fun. I love road tripping. It's kind of my jam. All right. So I'm going to start to take some of this sort of purpley tone and bring it in right along the inner edge of the cup. Maybe in it where I have like the highlight directly meeting. I might just hint at it, but kind of a little bit of depth right in there. A little bit of darker tone underneath each of the ledges. And I need some dark spots right in here. So I'm going to add a little kind of, often it's quite near the highlight that you kind of find some of these darker tones where it's maybe picking up darker reflected items. And I know it's super weird to think like, wow, how are you seeing all that color there? You see it too, but your brain is processing it into a whole cohesive thing. And so it's actually a lot of work to kind of mentally deconstruct and tear it all back apart. I mean, your brain is doing its job by seeing the whole thing. We're trained to see patterns. We're trained to, all right. So I'm just adding some, I guess, low lights and shadows in a few spots to kind of help this look. Well, that's not bad. Oh, what is my day job? I am a business analyst. I work in the federal government. If I told you where I worked, I'd have to kill you. Just kidding. But I don't actually say it live while I'm here. I'm not supposed to claim my affiliation, but I am with the federal government. And so I manage contracts and HR stuff, and it's fun. But I actually really, really love doing this, and I really love interacting with you guys and painting. And so again, working slowly but surely. I hope in a few years we'll be able to kind of call it quits on the day job and do this. All right, so I'm going to offload and put a little bit of emphasis on the Starbucks label for now, and then we'll come back and do a quick reevaluation. What I feel like is this cup is kind of floating out in the middle of the world, so I may want to add some shadow behind it to kind of balance it. But let's get that Starbucks logo done. So I'm going to just do a mostly white. I might just pick up a smidge of that blue. All right, so this guy's she's actually mostly green. How do we want to approach this? All right, we'll just do the base coat. Here we go. We'll just base coat it, get a nice clean edge. It's funny. I had a very different idea about what this logo looks like in my brain. So I was about to just go start painting this whole thing, and then I looked at it. I'm like, that's not how I imagined it. Which is kind of the same as like, when you're thinking about how water looks or how a thing is, and your brain has to deconstruct and actually pause to look at the thing versus just draw what you think you see. Okay. Tuning in late. I totally saw the lid is clear until you said otherwise. No, it is clear. It is clear. It's just that it's just that it's never going to be just one color. There's like a ton of color going on and reflecting in there. So hopefully it still looks clear. And I need some shadows in kind of the grooves along this. I'm seeing that now, but we're going to do this part first because I think that's going to help with some finishing off parts. So Allison, oddly enough, what I do is it's very creative it's a little bit left-brained, but like I love data. Oh gosh, here comes the cat. He wants to visit. I love data because of the stories I can tell with it. And I love finding patterns, and it's really about telling stories. And a lot of folks kind of tend not to see that because so often we get really intimidated by spreadsheets. But for me, it's just a tool to create an idea. All right, I'm gonna mix over here because it's dry, and I'm just gonna make kind of a green. Again, that's pretty vivid for Starbucks. So we'll add a little bit more of the mermaid tail. And again, I'm just mermaid tail and yellow, mixing it together. And because I plan on using a tiny brush, I don't want to mess up my bristles, so I'm using a palette knife. Kitty, really? I think he wants to jump on camera. But like Allison, back to the whole left brain, right brain. I find these days, like, because I'm creating budget justifications a lot, and it just ends up becoming a battle that I'm getting a little worn down by that. Okay, well, that's close enough. It's a little bit lighter than Starbucks green, but I think it's good enough for government work, right? We can say that. And then Holly says, "You misspoke as always. You mean you saw clear until I said he used varied colors to make it so." Aha! We'll see. Okay, there you are. Well, I mean, you had all of like one line of text to like get it out there. Okay, so going back with some green here, we will start by kind of adding a green outline here. Now, if we were being really anal retentive, we could totally like add, all right, so the tail goes kind of like this. Oh, and then she's inside a circle. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. I'm going to butcher this. Freehanding is only sometimes my superpower, but often it's not. Mamma mia. Mamma mia. So I feel like I could totally like go down the rabbit hole, like, and do all the greens exactly, all reflected and stuff. But I think I might give us a little break on that. Okay, so my freehanding is not winning any prizes today. And we got a star here, which I'm going to somehow have to make happen by blocking it in. Oh, it's a terrible star, but that's fine. I can always tweak it later or add it in. Maybe we'll just add it in later or forget to add it in. It's fine. And yeah, I've got a few spots I'm going to have to fix. That's, again, we don't care. So I'm going to, so I guess I keep saying, but very badly, I'm just going to leave the label fairly flat colored. I don't think I'm going to add a lot of variation to that. I think that'll just kind of, you'll be here all day. All right, so then she's got her head here. So we'll do this. And then we've got kind of her curvy self that goes whoop, which then just kind of goes right into her. I'll smooth that out. And then she kind of has these funny hair things. This is weird because it's almost like in reverse. So then she has these hair bits that kind of do this. Let's see, there's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2. And I can't look at the comments right now as I'm like hyper focused on trying not to mess this part up, huh? 2. And she's got this arm that goes out. So I don't know if any of you have seen like the vintage Starbucks logos anytime recently, but they are racy. Like, it's kind of like, whoa there, girl. That's what is that mermaid doing? But they've definitely kind of toned it down for mainstream sense. Only reason I paid attention to that is I've done this whole like for my master's program was working on we did a whole study of Starbucks. And that actually comes all the way down. There we are. Again, I'm gonna have some tweaking to do. Oh, Nugget, don't you get in here and mess with me, buddy. Hi, kitty. This is Nugget. All right, so we'll take this down like so. We'll get the other hair piece. Hi. Oh, I need you guys' advice. So, as many of you know, we lost one of our kitties December 12th. And this guy here is very lonely. As you can tell, he's in my face like nonstop now. And I have the opportunity to adopt another kitty. And part of me is like, I'd like to wait because we're about to move. But part of me is like, this little dude is so lonely and I think he'd be so happy. Plus the cat is like gray slash, what they call blue. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could get a blue cat for Blue Cat Studio. And he looks like sad and lonely and like he really needs adopting. So I'm trying to decide, should I just like, when we get back from our ski trip this weekend, just bite the bullet and go adopt this guy? Or should I wait till after the move? I'm really like, I don't know. I'm trying to weigh it. I'm not going to like surprise the kids. I need to ask their opinions too. They might be like, Mom, you're a crazy person. Yeah, get the blue cat. I know. I'm like, he looks so sweet too. And like so sad that he hasn't been adopted yet. And I'm like, aw. And it's not that I'm trying to replace, Snickers, but I'm like, this little dude here, Nugget, he's like so lonely. All right. Me and my Starbucks logo here. Not winning any prizes, but we get the idea. That is more complicated than I expected. That's all I gotta say. Oh, and then she needs a face. All right, here we go. So she has like a little nose, a little mouth, a little eye, a little bit here. Does anybody else want to vote? Get the cat, don't get the cat. Obviously, I'm not going to go today. Go for it. Nugget needs a friend, and isn't the move in the summer? Rescue the blue cat. Blue cat, it's meant to be. All right, I'll have to go get the blue cat. I think he already comes with a name, and I'm like, do we keep the name, or did the shelter name him that? I guess we could give him a name. It'll probably need to be something that's like super. All right, so we kind of got the idea there. We're good enough, right? Okay, offload. I mean, seriously, ever since we lost Snickers, like Nugget has been like in my face, on my lap, messing with everything. Like it's cute. He's very needy. He makes me feel very sad every time I leave him behind. So I have to say, do cats learn their name? I think so. Although I actually call Nugget Buddha. And that's just because like I have a tendency to call everybody Boo and stuff like that. Like, but my son is Boo, and I couldn't call. I'm just doing a couple touch-ups here. I couldn't call a cat and my son Boo. That would just be wrong. So then I just was like, oh, Boo, duh. All right, there we go. But so they know their names and their nicknames, I think, pretty well. But since he's like, I think he's a rescue and he was found abandoned, I bet you whatever name they've got for him now wasn't actually his name. So I could get away with like changing it. Okay, so now we got this. We got that. Woo, we're getting there, you guys. They don't listen unless they want to anyways. Mars instead of Mars. Mars! Nugget and Mars! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, now I have to go adopt this guy. Just noticing that we need a little white across the rim of straw. Oh, that Starbucks logo looks good, especially if I squint. All right, offload a bit here. Now I'm going to go in with some of I like this dark blue that we mixed, which of course is purple and teal, because everybody knows that purple and teal makes blue, right? So that's why I often say I'm a CMYK person, which is cyan, which could be anywhere from mermaid tail teal to Bahama blue, or any kind of in the turquoise teal range. Magenta, CM, magenta, and Y, yellow. And then K, of course, is black. Although, y'all know I do my best to avoid black. Okay, so we need to add some dark stuff. And I think we're going to see more dark stuff kind of right along the lid here. It's kind of what I'm seeing. Do the occasional line that kind of comes down. A little bit at the bottom. I think I'm seeing a little bit in here too, kind of on part of the ridge. Yeah, in fact, we're going to kind of create a slightly broken line right along here to just kind of help emphasize the shape. I think we needed something here where the straw actually kind of goes in. Okay, so Holly says, yeah, Tyler was Booga and Simon is Doodles. Oh my gosh, Doodles is so cute. And Cassie says, we have a cat, my son named Mark. He never comes to it. He's only 5 months old. Oh, well, yeah. Although honestly, like when I want my cats to come and they're like yowling, I just like, kitty, kitty. And you do that little sound and they come like running. He's already like, hey, you want me to come see you? Like, you guys can't see him, but he's sitting here on, oh, you can't, well, you might about to see him. He was literally like sitting under my computer, which has got, my monitor for what we're doing here. So I'm just adding like almost like just little tiny, like kind of these bluey, purpley jiggles, like kind of right along the top of the rim here of that like removable lid thing. My paint supply is kind of calling it quits on me. Oh, and we need a little bit here to kind of emphasize the edge, and then there's probably a slight shadow. A little bit of a ledge right in here, just right above. Funny, I call everyone Bub, my son, grandsons, and nephews, and sometimes the dog, Linda says. Yeah, see, I'm like Boo and all that kind of stuff. My daughter I used to call Baby, but she's like, don't call me Baby, I'm not a baby. So then I started calling her B, which of course was short for baby. And then I started calling it like BZ, because that was a little less like a bee or honeybee. I don't know. I'm like always messing with people's names, and everything starts with B. Like all nicknames start with B. It's just so easy. I'm like, I should just name the cat something with a B. All right. So again, we're just kind of tuning a little bit here and there, kind of wherever it seems like we needed something. Like I want a little shadow, almost like the meniscus of the tea, kind of around the straw. Yeah, meniscus. That's a word. Woof. Okay. I think that kind of covers us. We spent 45 minutes. I usually try and keep it a little shorter, but I was feeling all inspired to do our Starbucks cup. Let's see. I'm going to rinse this guy off. As a reminder, if you're ever working with one of these fine liners, don't scrape the brush bristles across the bottom of your water. Just swish it and use your paper towel to get as much of the extra stuff out. It's just your brush will last a little longer. So I think I want to add just a tiny bit of, I can't help myself. I just want a little bit of background going on here. So a bit of that. Oh, I lost my darkness. Shoot. Here, we'll just grab all this color here. I don't know. We're just making a mush. We'll make a mush. It'll work. We'll just kind of add a little something in this zone here. So we're sitting on something. So again, these sort of disembodied things can be a little bit disconcerting. And so sometimes even just adding a horizon line is like hugely, hugely powerful. Put a little bit more purple in. Man, I got like all this glare. Can't see what I'm doing. It's funny. I'm looking at the background here where the paint took it sort of differently in different areas. I will say that I noticed as I was taping this off that I had gessoed the sucker a while back. And this is probably like a year ago. I just randomly gessoed a few pages. And so I think this is one of them, which is nice though, because when you gesso something, it really allows, especially like paper and in mixed media, it really allows that paper to kind of hold up a little bit better to all your mushings and messings and whatnots. And if we wanted to be really funky here, we could take a little mix of that orange and purple to make some more of that magenta, kind of mush it into here, create a slightly purpler tone. And then we could say, well, maybe it's even reflecting a little bit of its color, just kind of right in here. Not a whole lot, just a smidge, maybe a little more. You're going to find the deepest kind of reflection of that color right at the closest part, and it will get progressively lighter as it comes out. So honestly, when I look at this, I feel like it's a little bit light in this zone. Like I could probably do a little bit more in terms of darkening some sections here. I also feel like a little shadow around the label would be good. But I feel like we've also kind of showed roughly how we get there. Let's see. So Cassie says, so Linda says that logo is crazy good. Great conversation too. Thank you. I'm loving this. Cassie says we have a cat living outside. I call her Kitty. She adopted us. I feed her, but we don't come out. She won't come either. You feel bad when it's cold out. Yeah, sometimes these outdoor cats they're just shy of feral. And Allison says the floating cup was kind of fun too. That is true. The floating cup was fun. So I'm sorry I kind of messed with it, but I wanted to get that little bit of a reflection. So I think that kind of covers us. And Cassie says, looks good. I like the Starbucks pink drink. Oh yeah, dragon fruit. All right, I'm going to add the shadow really fast. See how that goes. If I have just a little bit of the mermaid tail, I'm going to just go with straight mermaid tail. And kind of come in here and just a touch here and there. Not too much. Just a little something in a few spots, especially underneath. Maybe add a little bit of that purple to it. I don't know. Looks like I went a little wide. That's okay. Yeah. So now that I feel like that anchors a little bit. All right, I'm going to call it good, you guys. Thank you for joining me. This was super fun to paint with you today. And I feel like everybody on here is actually one of my inner circle members. So awesome. I love you guys. And if you're watching the replay of this, well, thank you. But right now, the rest of y'all live. So I will see you guys next week. If not over the weekend, I don't know. I'm going skiing this weekend and the Wi-Fi is usually pretty bad. So I may have limited access, but have a good one and we'll see you next time. Bye guys. And thank you.